Hello, everyone, and welcome to SHX, the road to $3.33, episode 5. My name is CryptoBanker SHX. For those who are not familiar with myself, I am the SHX Maxi OG from the summer of 2023. I've been building the SHX community from scratch on X. And prior to doing that, I spent over a decade in global banking. Firstly, advising the C-suite of the world's largest financial organizations and banks in regards to growth via technology, and then in the latter half, in regards to regulations. Before we begin today, just a prerequisite, I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing I say or do should be taken as financial advice. Now, to begin with, I wanted to focus on this. So here we have from Brad Garlinghouse in relation to the Genius Act that has now finally passed in the US. And he states that the last major financial regulation bill was passed 15 years ago in response to the 2008 financial crisis. Not that anything really changed within the banks and how they run things, but anyway, tomorrow, the signing of the Genius Act cements the US's future in being a leader in truly innovative financial technology, stablecoins. This moment is an historic one, and I, for one, am looking forward to that is all to come as a result of this transformational legislation. And he's completely right. This is the most important piece of legislation and regulation in and around finance in modern times. And what it means is that finally the US is going to be the center of blockchain adoption and blockchain technology. And as we look at the charts today, we've seen that legislation be reflected in terms of price action. Obviously, it is Friday, so we are heading into the weekend. Something to probably keep an eye on. But as I say, you'll start to see these certain digital assets that are chosen. Stellar has already had a big move up. We've also obviously seen XRP today hit all-time highs, which is incredible. And I, for one, last year was saying in sort of most of last year, I was saying that XRP will run first, and it did. And it ran, Stellar and XRP have kind of run together, which is very, very, very encouraging. And as we look at Stellar, we can see that on sort of the weekly we've had, or even if we go back a monthly, sort of 10 days ago, we see that big run that it's had. And now it's sort of sitting in a position whereby hopefully it continues. And I think that it will, because the Stellar Foundation are now ramping up their growth plans. So they've appointed former leaders from PayPal and Block. Firstly, Jason, who helped shape the strategy at Block's Bitcoin hardware division and also held key roles at Coinbase, is now leading Stellar's global marketing efforts, which is very, very impressive. And then you have Jose, who is the former head of blockchain and digital currencies at PayPal, and he's stepping in as president and chief growth officer, where he will be focused on building major partnerships and driving real-world adoption across payments, tokenization, and open finance for the Stellar Network and the Stellar Development Foundation. Two huge acquisitions when it comes to personnel there. If we're looking at Stronghold, Stronghold is actually in a very strong position. It has and is behaving in the way that it should. And I think that this is only really the beginning in terms of this is at the very, very beginning. When we look back and we sort of look at what's happened within the month of July in 2025, I think this is going to be dwarfed in the future. People are saying alt season is here, and to a varying degree, yes, it is. But really, alt season doesn't really kick off until Ether hits all-time highs. So the action that we're seeing in regards to Stronghold, XLM, XRP, as well as others, is very, very encouraging, because it's not even showtime yet, and they're already behaving in a way that you would expect them to behave, which is very, very encouraging. Pre sort of those major moves upwards. Something I touched upon yesterday in a Stronghold is they are a sponsor at the Salt conference. I actually managed to have some time to really delve into this and understand who are behind this. Kraken are behind Salt, and so Salt are a global investment platform connecting institutional asset owners with innovational asset managers and technology entrepreneurs. And again, I shared this yesterday, but when I was looking at this list again, something sort of jumped out to me. And I don't know whether or not this will transpire to be true. But if you're looking at, say, for example, now, who are going to be the leaders within the US market for crypto adoption and which assets are going to perform the best, then this is pretty much a pre-list, and this is pretty much a pre-qualified list of projects in the crypto space who are going to be the innovators and are the architects of the new financial system. So as we go down, the one thing that stood out to me, I was like, where's Cardano? Because obviously Cardano is a key player. I'm still unsure why, but it is a key player within that, made in the USA. And what projects are going to really be allowed and be able to fit within those compliance and regulatory frameworks to be able to be part of X money. And I think that actually when you look at this list, much say that it looks like a pre-approved list to that. And even if they don't, then they're already pre-approved by certain individuals. And when you look at, say, for example, the speaker list here, you'll start to see the usual suspects. And you have Galaxy there, you have the Federal Reserve, the Human Rights Foundation. They've heavily been involved in crypto because the way you bring about a global control system when it comes to finance ultimately is you have to get people on board. And if you go deep enough, you'll understand that the idea of the all-inclusive financial system and everything like that actually probably it could go two ways, but the majority of it is really down to control, and that's why you see government agencies and the US of House Representatives. This people would say, well, they're there because they're the Federal Reserve and the government have passed legislation. This is why you have these governors, Human Rights Foundation, and everything like that. And you have Charles there, Hopkins from Cardano, so he is there. You have American Bitcoin as well, Kraken, and I could go on. What is funny is that Jack's there, and isn't that the guy that was crying about XRP and Ripple? So he'll probably have some interesting conversations because Ripple are sponsors. But my point is this: that these government individuals or associates, should I say, have actually been there from the beginning. And so when you're looking at these chosen projects, what you will find is that a lot of them are not a case of coincidence, and they're not a case of someone decided to start a business and spoke to someone else, and then they got some funding. These people have, and these projects are government backed, and they're private businesses masquerading, should we say, as they're government backed, and they're masquerading as private or non-connected businesses. But this has been a plan which was decided many, many years ago. And as I say, with Stronghold, they're kind of, again, spelling it out to you, ISO 20222 is quietly becoming the new language of global money. And they're asking, what do you think will change when that shift is complete? Hopefully, for everyone listening to this, it will be in regards to your bank balances, hopefully, right? But what I wanted to speak about today is XRP. And my background to crypto is I originally got into crypto in March of 2020. And probably like many of you, I initially thought it was just Bitcoin and Ether. And so I purchased Bitcoin. And then I started to look around in relation to the other digital assets that were available. And the one that stood out to me clearly was XRP. And then I became an XRP maxi. And I was an XRP maxi for my first sort of 9 months within crypto until I kind of lost patience and I saw other things shooting off, and then suddenly started to expand my portfolio. Sort of 40, 50 projects at one point in 2021. But XRP has really had this kind of mystique around it. And it's kind of like a little bit, I mean, you hear the term conspiracy theory, right? But really, actually, it's just the truth. And it's only ever called a conspiracy until it's like the undeniable truth, okay? But the XRP is like almost like I would say a conspiracy theory's dream, right? So it's a chosen project. It's going to be backed by gold, right? And there's all of this talk, and I've seen everything. I was on something called garden leave. In the UK, it means that you are still employed by your old employer, but you don't have to go into work. You have no interaction because you're off to work for a competitor. So you have a notice period, which is typically within the corporate world around 6 months. Dependent on your status within that business. So that happened. I had garden leave, so I had a lot of free time. So I'd spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and this is when lockdown was on, when the dreaded C word was happening. So I was filling all my day with XRP content back in 2020. So I know a lot about XRP, and I know all of the theories and certain things that people say. Obviously, the 589 is very, very popular indeed, and it is going to go to $589 and things like that. And the leadership team of Ripple have kind of played on that, and it's a combination, I think, of some very, very, very clever marketing, but also there is massive substance behind these claims. And when, again, you start to look at the connections of who these people are, who founded the business, who's involved, and you follow the money, you realize that when Ripple is saying and making statements like, most importantly, we remain more committed than ever to the simple goal of making XRP the world's reserve digital currency, they're not too far away from it. And I think that an important point is when people are reading things like it's going to be the world reserve currency or digital currency, they then start to think about fiat money, and they start to think about, right, okay, so instead of using all these pounds or euros or dollars, whatever it is, I'm going to be using XRP. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. What they tend not to get it because it's actually the connections and the movement of money when it comes to XRP. So when they're saying they're going to be the world's reserve digital currency, they're not saying that your grandma's going to have XRP and sort of go out shopping with it. Potentially in the future, yes, but what they're referring to is the systems that sit behind the financial system, and Ripple are well known to be the plumbers, and so the use cases and the real world utility and application of Ripple and XRP, because XRP is obviously standalone, and it is the native currency or one of the currencies available of the XRP ledger. When you, as I say, begin to look who's actually backing this. And I'm not going to share loads of documents. You guys, if you're new to XRP, then obviously there are an array of different content creators on X who you can sort of delve into. There's very, very detailed videos on XRP on YouTube, going down various different rabbit holes. But what I want to concentrate on, I think this is so important, is the relationship between Brad and Christine Lagarde. Now, Christine Lagarde is the president of the ECB, and she has been involved with Ripple for many, many years. And going back to May the 14th of 2019, I say paraded, but she almost brought in, well, she brought in Brad Garlinghouse as like this poster boy for blockchain and digital currencies. And he was sat in a room with the most influential people, some of the most influential people when it comes to finance on the planet. And when you look at Ripple and their involvement in governments, just going back to, as I say, the speakers at Seoul, these companies have been chosen many, many years before even blockchain was a known thing. And a lot of the time, and I don't understand why, this has been talked about, but everyone within crypto, and probably people who aren't even in crypto, want to know who invented Bitcoin, who was the creator of BTC. And if you do some digging, you'll find that David Schwartz in 1988 submitted a patent for what we now know would be the foundational blueprint for blockchain technology. Now, David Schwartz is a genius. We all know that. There's no denying it. But this guy is, he has a brilliant mind. And in 1988, either invented, it looks like, as I say, the blueprint for blockchain technology. So again, you have one of the founders in 1988, which some people who are in crypto weren't even born then, submitting this patent for, as I say, this future technology. And you also have the other co-founder really embedded, being, as I say, back in 2019, being around a table with the most influential people in the world when it comes to finance. And then you see that there's a 1996 NSA article on how to make a mint. And this post by Vandal Black Swan, do give Vandal a follow. He is one of the best accounts on X. A very, very intelligent guy and a good guy to boot as well. So please do give him a follow if you don't already. But here we see that in 1996, the NSA, how to make a mint. A coincidence, David Schwartz, one of the original architects of the XRP ledger, began work with the NSA the same year his patent was accepted. And if you look at the reference line at number 11, you can see that it's very, very similar to Satoshi Nakamoto. Like, are there such things as coincidences? When you start to, as I say, deep dive into Ripple and XRP, like this, David Schwartz is Satoshi. And as I say, it blows my mind. The evidence is there. He has a patent from 1988, and started working with the NSA. And like I say, it's an open secret with these people when when you're looking at the likes of, Stellar and Ripple and Stronghold, then very likely, in my opinion, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but you're looking at government agencies. I wouldn't say masquerading, but yeah, very much government-backed agencies as private businesses, because we are talking about the whole of the financial system. So any theater that you see when it comes to sort of Bitcoin and the decentralization and the original idea of Bitcoin being this sort of people's money and freedom money. I mean, it has set a lot of people free, right, from what we would know as the matrix in regards to financial freedom. But Bitcoin again is very much controlled and centralized by Wall Street, and it wasn't just made by this sort of anonymous person for the greater good. It's a way in which to create and control the revolution of money. And these people and these systems, control systems, which are in place and sit behind governments, are never going to leave this to chance. They were never going to leave the new financial system to chance. They were never going to let some random person just create a new form of money and then see where it went to. That's not the case at all. But what is positive from this means that because these people are chosen, because they are part of a larger network, future success when it comes to XRP, then yes, it will be one and is one of the leaders within this space and will continue to be one of the leaders in this space. In regards to how high XRP can potentially go, like any cryptocurrency, I mean, I'm doing a live right for SHX, and SHX is at $1, not $1, it's at 1.5 cents. And I'm doing a live 6 days a week until it hits $3.33, which again, some people might say insane, but you see the insane price predictions on XRP. And one of the popular ones is 589, so $589. And I think that when you understand, as I say, again, the partnerships, the connections, who's really behind this, like who actually is sitting in the background, really kind of pulling the strings and making sure that certain things happen. XRP has always been positioned and is still positioned to be a leader and is a leader within the new financial system. I wouldn't say anything is guaranteed, but if you're asking me sort of when it will hit potentially 3 digits, I think within the next 5 years, definitely. The thing to sort of keep in mind with these projects, if you are potentially new or looking to potentially invest in them, is to have a longer term perspective. I don't think anyone is going to purchase XRP now and then, well, depending on how much money they put in, right? But if you're looking to sort of invest a couple of $1,000s and you think you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow, that's probably not going to happen. But that said, if you hold for long enough, and it's never really how much you have, it's when you sell. From that, then there isn't really any reason why XRP would not be 3 figures at some point within the next 5 years. Like that's pretty much like certain, I think, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice, because the amount of money that is going to be moving around and the amount of assets and liquidity that will be associated with the XRPL, it means that the 3 figures for XRP is not unrealistic within the next 5 years. But when you then dig a bit deeper and understand that XRP to actually fully achieve and be fully scalable to achieve its use case, it really needs to be priced around $10,000 per XRP. Then, as I say, if you have a long-term perspective, in 15, 20 years, it'd be great to have a time machine with it and go and see what they're going to be like. But it's going to move a considerable amount of money across the world. All these projects are, and they're going to have, as I say, the specific use cases, and XRPs is primarily banks. So, in conclusion, like I say, if you are a holder and you've been holding for years, because let me tell you, XRP was the most boring thing to hold. Like when I was holding it, yeah, it was the most boring thing. Like nothing really happened, but what was exciting is you had all of these partnerships and all of these documents, and all of this paper trail and all of this data really pointing to where it's going. And it's, as I say, if you've had the conviction to be a maxi for all of these years, then yeah, you deserve everything that's coming to you, because again, with all of the positive news and all of the positive data, you always get all of the FUD, don't you? And you always get a load of people saying, oh, it's not going to be this, it's not going to be that, or trying to find holes in things. But as I say, I don't think that anyone's going to wake up tomorrow and XRP is going to be $1,000. The attachment to gold is an idea which, in principle, would work and be effective. And if it did that, then that would be unreal. And then reevaluated gold, and then backed it by that. That would be insane. Whether or not that happens, there is a possibility. Who knows? And in that case, then yes, the price would probably carry on going up and never come down. And that's another thing as well. That has been said for many years, that once XRP goes, it's going to carry on going and never come down. It's yet to be seen, but it is massively positive that it has hit all-time highs for not only XRP holders and XRP in the ecosystem of XRPL, but also for this market and this space, because we need XRP to win. XRP is leading this. It's leading the run, and it will continue to do so. So, as I say, short term, you're probably if you're in it for the next sort of few months, how high can it really go? I think around $20 would be a good spot. 10 would be pretty safe and conservative. So around maybe a 3 to 6x. But like, it's a $204 billion market cap. And if you're a strongholder, you want XRP as high as possible. Because when XRP wins, XLM wins. When XLM wins and XRP wins, SHX wins. And so again, like looking at this from my perspective, being an SHX Maxi OG, I'm like, right, okay. So everyone in XRP, obviously, some are aware, some aren't of SHX, Stronghold, Ripple, are obviously strategic investors and created the business with Stellar. So I think once people find that out, and that's very much out in the open, then what you'll see is a major influx, and this has already started, because on the X community, the Strongholders community X page, you can see, I can see who's obviously requesting to join the community. and a lot of XRP people are coming in. In fact, probably like 80% of the people, 90% of the people that are joining have XRP in their name or some affiliation with XRP. And so if we're looking at, say, for example, a $10 to $20 XRP, that would mean that the market cap of XRP, say, for example, it got to $17, $18, that's a 5x, that's a trillion market cap. Now, at a trillion market cap, SHX, for example, to hit $1, it needs to be around 15, 16 billion. So that's like 1.5% of XRP's market cap at a trillion. So again, as I say, the people who will make life-changing gains on XRP, having not made hardly anything all of these years, are then going to start taking profits. And then where are they going to place their money? Well, not too far from home is Stronghold. And so, as I say, whatever happens with XRP, XLM, you want those as high as possible because, and the likes of Velo as well, because they're all at some point, some of that is going to turn over into smaller projects associated with Ripple, like Stronghold. I say smaller projects; it's only smaller really in terms of market cap. When you start to, as I say, look at the use cases, you see that actually maybe Stronghold should be more around Stellar's market cap. But as I say, we have that yet to witness and enjoy. And just to end today's episode, in fact, at one point we had 589 listeners on X for this. How appropriate. Just to end today's episode, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's listening, who's sharing, who's commented, who's likes, all of the messages that you're sending me. The feedback's been amazing. And as I say, thank you for taking the time to listen and time out from your day. I hope you find sort of this useful and insightful. And I just wanted to remind you that this is all of what we're witnessing is already planned. And so over the next sort of 5 years, we're really going to see blockchain be adopted globally. We're going to see it start to become part of people's everyday lives who maybe weren't involved before. And as I say, the likes of XRP and Stellar and Stronghold look like they have very planned, bright futures ahead of them. And like I said, I just want to say congratulations to all of the XRP holders hitting the all-time high. I think Stronghold's not too far behind hitting the all-time highs, and then we'll start to enjoy price discovery as well. I will be back tomorrow for episode 6. I hope you've found this all insightful, and I will see you on the next one.